ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the Wasted Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that hopefully lead to a great discussion. In today's episode, the Scarecrows of the Wasted Anime podcast will be reviewing the first season of the 2023 anime Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. Let's meet today's confectioners. There we go. First up, he got away with his Walter White type shit by claiming it was a sugar confection. We got Jay. Jay, how's it going?
You know, my name is Lord Infamous, but you can call me Scarecrow. Real ones will get that reference.
Sounds good, Scarecrow. Our first moderator tonight, Jonas only has one favorite on Mal, and it's this guy. We got Miles. Miles, how's it going?
I'm carrying the wheel. That's from My Name is Jonas by Weezer.
Oh, okay. So like, I don't get that at all.
Okay, well, that's
I got it.
thanks, man.
I didn't mean to leave you out to dry. I just legit had no idea what point you were trying to make.
I thought shit froze, if I'm being honest.
It actually did freeze on my end too, which is made it even funnier knowing now that nothing actually happened when it froze. I'm not even kidding, like it lagged.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, get ready, Pete, because there's gonna be a few of these.
All right, sounds good. I know some Jonas Brothers, but not a whole lot of Weezer.
You know what? I'll talk about a Waffle House in a bit, okay?
Sounds good. And then the voice you heard before, that's Pat.
Hello. Yeah, let's do Sugar Apple Fairy Tale for Watch Club today. Again, as Pete mentioned, it's from 2023, or more specifically, the winter 2023 season, done by Studio JC staff, known for, I don't know, for me, it was at least Konosuba, Saiki K, Bakuman, are names I recognize. Revolutionary Girl Utena is on there as well. So a bunch of very famous anime. And yeah, it is a shoujo sourced from a light novel with the theme of visual arts and genres of adventure, drama, fantasy, and romance. So let's do our first impressions. Jay, why don't you start us off? First few episodes and whether you'd recommend it or not.
Yeah, so the first few episodes of this, I feel like, present a pretty interesting world, a world where fairies and humans coexist or once coexisted, but it said that the humans rose up against the fairies and then kind of like brought it back to them and enslaved them. So you got like this really sort of interesting world building presented in the first 3 episodes that I really enjoyed. I thought that the music in the first couple episodes also is really what drew me in, as well as the English dub voice acting, which was pretty good. The only thing I will say is that if you're watching the English dub of this on Crunchyroll, just go ahead and turn those subtitles off. They're unwatchable. Like they are blatantly lying to you with those AI generated subtitles. But other than that, I found it to be pretty pleasant. The character designs were pretty solid. I especially liked the sort of like mixed color hair that they have going on top. I'm always a big fan of that. So yeah, I would say that I would recommend this to most people. Although I think that if you're somebody who is looking for something a bit more actiony, you probably won't really jive with this that much.
Makes sense. All right. Miles, what about you?
Yeah, I was excited to finally get to watch this. This is something I had wanted to watch since the season had aired, but also I have to be a little picky on what I watch because of time, and so I was glad to finally get around to it. I had a pretty good time. I think it's an enjoyable little story. It's got a good amount of like drama and has some like cute shoujo-y moments and everything. If you're someone out there who likes attractive men, let me tell you about this show. There's a good amount of them. And I also thought it was refreshing to have a fantasy setting where the MC didn't own a slave, and that was an option. What a strange predicament to find ourselves in. But I had a good time. I would probably echo Jay's thoughts. I do think there's very minimal action in this, but it's not like completely actionless. It's a good little fantasy world. I think it's worth watching.
All right, Pete, what about you?
So this is my rewatch, and I'm sort of in the same camp as everybody else. I think the word that I'll be using a lot is enjoyable. I know Miles mentioned it. There's a lot of enjoyable moments and scenes in this show that stood out to me, but overall, like I think that they're trying to do something that just doesn't click with me personally. We'll be bringing it up later, but like as a grown ass man, like 34 years old, I don't think I'm the right demographic for this show. And I don't think, and normally these are shows that I can find fun with and find things that I really enjoy. And this one just didn't have like the one thing that I like really liked about it. So, but I would still recommend it because I do think it has a lot of good things going for it. I don't think it's like fundamentally bad in any way. I do think like the world building was good, like Jay mentioned. I think the dialogue is fun. They do some things that I enjoyed, and like sort of the message towards the end of season 1, I was a fan of. But man, I think that this is like a show where I don't think you need a rule of 3. I think you need like a 7 episode on this one because I think it's kind of a tale of two stories in the first season. And I definitely gravitated more towards the second half of this story. But I would still say I would recommend it. It's in no way is this show bad. It's just not for me.
All right, yeah, and me. I'm gonna echo Pete almost entirely there. I also agree that the second half of the show, for me, I enjoyed more than the first half pretty solidly, I would say. I was really dreading continuing to watch this after the first few episodes. And also, like what Pete just said, it's not because it's poorly made, poorly written, poorly done in any way. I was struggling so much to enjoy this show as a 27-year-old male that is in a stable relationship. I just don't, it was not clicking for me at all. And it's not at the fault of the show. I'm just clearly not who the show was trying to go after. And that's fine. So I think I'm going to be caveating a lot of what I say or any criticism I have tonight with it's just not for me. And that's okay. And I'm okay with that. So I would recommend this if you like shoujo or if you feel like this is a show that was made for you, which is a really stupid recommendation caveat. But
The
like,
Miles ass recommendation right
no,
there.
of course.
I'm glad Kat is still here in spirit.
Yeah, no, but like, if you see the world and are like, oh, it's beautiful and it's a shoujo, I'm gonna like that. Then yes, you will like this show. Like it belongs being recommended to someone like that versus, yeah, like can you imagine a shonen bro talking about this show? Like, oh my god, how painful that would be. So if you look at this and say to yourself like, then I would not recommend it. I wouldn't say that it's like a genre breaking or surpassing story or piece of media.
Mhm.
You know, it's not Cowboy Bebop where you're gonna love it no matter what kind of media you like or anything along those lines. So I would, yeah. So that's my half recommend, half not. I would say.
I feel like it's like one of those shows where like you can look at the cover of the show and be like, yeah, I like this type of show or not, like immediately. Like, do you like pretty colors and fairies? Because if you do, you'll fucking love this show.
Yeah, I agree. I was very unsold on the show when we got it nommed. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I can talk about it. I think there's a lot to praise about it, but for me, in terms of enjoyment, it was not there. I was pretty bored watching the show, and that's okay. We'll get into why that's okay now. So, Miles, do you have your first talking point that you wanted to bring up, or was it Pete who's going to go first today?
Do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first, Miles?
Let's have you go first.
Okay, I think that works because I can kind of transition to it. Where this is like the first time in a very long time because I love watching shoujo properties, and usually there's things that I can connect to or find fun with. You know, like something like Kageki Shoujo, where it's like 98% a female cast, and like I love everybody, and I can gravitate towards something like that. This Sugar Apple Fairy Tale to me just seems like it is a show specifically made for like 12-year-old girls who are going through like a pixie phase, a super hot, like I don't know how to the stoic fairy guy. Like Challe is like a very specific type of
Twilight,
yes, something along those lines. Like it's exactly like that, where this is just like I'm all for more dudes watching shoujo. This is like the first shoujo I watched. I'm like, this is not for dudes, like straight up. I think there's like cooler moments towards the end with like, you know, like Anne fighting through the misogyny and all this stuff that like she has at work and stuff like that. Like, that's a great message to send to like girls and stuff like that. And I think it's important for guys to understand that as well. But like the first like 7 episodes to me was just like a fantasy daydream that like a Twilight girl falls in love with like a fictional character for the first time. Challe just radiates first love fictional energy to me. I don't know if anybody else got that, but first time in a long time that I felt something like this.
Did the fact that he's a slave as well impact that at all? You know, like that was kind of weird, was it not? Like,
I mean, how the world like established it, I don't think it was like as big of a deal.
I guess I'd agree with that. I would agree that the world established it in a somewhat reasonable way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, she still owns him. You know,
Well,
like
I mean,
that's
Only for episode 1.
But she doesn't really treat him.
Yeah,
like
She,
a
she frees
slave
him
owner or anything.
immediately.
no, but she still has to give him or
I think the orders thing was him seeing, like,
He did-
testing her to see if she is like other humans, and
Mhm.
the fact that she has it, like, he's doing it partially because he's just a dick, and because he's testing her, and the fact that she hesitates, that lets him kind of like see her differently than other humans who wouldn't hesitate to just like, you know, grab the wing and command him or whatever. I do think that it was a little uncomfy. I do agree with you, Pat. Like I didn't really like the crush my wing, command me and crush my wing aspect of it. Like, but from a sort of like character perspective, I think it made sense to me. Is the thing.
It wasn't Shield Hero. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
that's not saying much though. But
No,
fair
it's-
enough.
it's
I do.
not, but
I get
it's
what
like,
you're saying,
there's-
Jay. Though I do.
Unfortunately, in anime, there are levels to slavery. It's like, I hate that we have to have that conversation, but like the fact that like Challe held on to his wing and gave it to Bridget towards the end, like it's not as bad, but yeah, I get it.
Well, I guess like that's my thought. Like she basically like never uses the mechanism in which the enslavement, right? It would be like if Nalphamy, to continue the metaphor, never used the slave crest on Raphtalia, right? But that's not what happens.
I honestly think if I were to compare this to another anime or manga, it would be like Inuyasha, where like in Inuyasha, Kagome has the ability to tell Inuyasha to sit, and he will like collapse to the ground. It's done for comedic effect, but it is
Mhm.
something because he's a dog demon or whatever. I think that this is like I got such Inuyasha vibes from this, honestly, in a lot of ways, except he's more of like a Shishomaru type, I guess. But like it just felt very similar in terms of like their relationship and that sort of thing, which I think Inuyasha is a lot of people's like first fictional love, a lot of girls especially.
100%.
And so I don't know, like that I guess maybe I was kind of like vaccinated against this by watching like all of Inuyasha on Toonami when I was younger. So
That's a really good comparison.
I agree. That is a good one. Yeah, and the slavery thing wasn't like that big of a deal to me. It's just weird. Like, why do they like? It's a weird mechanism to set up a story in the first place. Which,
I
like,
think
from an off-putting perspective, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think genuinely in this work, right? Like it is viewed as a bad thing, which is
Oh, of course, yes.
which is
The author's not
right, 'cause-
advocating for it,
because
right?
that is not always what happens. You know, sometimes we get a whole thing on that, and so I guess for me that's like enough, and it differentiates Anne, right? Like it shows her sort of compassion and everything, that she's willing. She has the whatever the opposite of the kick the dog moment is, like right at the beginning where she protects Mithril, like, and she's like willing to stand up and do that. So it's just showing her sense of justice. I think that's good. Jay, you have some more stuff to add on this?
yeah, I think that like the sort of relationship between humans and fairies and the world building around that, I wish that was something that kind of got expanded upon more. I wanted more, like, just of the fairy lore in general. I think that it was one of the more interesting parts of the show. Like them revealing that fairies are born from like energy collecting in objects and living things observing it. Like I thought that was so neat, and like to have this like kind of magic system set up around that was really interesting to me. And I don't know about you guys, but it felt like they just kind of threw it to the wayside more so to like it's just there to have drama with the characters. It's not like there to serve as like actual world building in a lot of ways. Like sure, people are racist against Challe or whatever, and like call him like a companion fairy because he's not brawny or whatever. But I just I wish that they would have gone more into like the King Cedric the Entertainer stuff and that sort of thing. I thought that was a really strong part of the show that they could have expanded upon.
When you said he's not brawny, I just immediately went to
Brawny James.
LeBron.
Yeah, like in my head, I was like, well, no shit, he's not brawny. Like, no one is.
Challe drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers with
He's a Nepo baby for sure.
So
LeBron has his wing Nepo baby.
It's just LeBron crushing the wing of his GM. You will draft my son.
Why is Challe such a good shooting guard?
Why?
Because he's gray on the wing.
Oh.
My thought on that, Jay, is that it's something
joke.
that that's going to be expanded on, because to me it sort of seemed like the initial mythos that we have received is a lie, and so like I don't know, but to me, like her making her final piece and like hearkening to the old relationship that the fairy king and like the human king had, and how they were like friends, and how that maybe eventually fell apart. It looked like they were adding stuff to be laid out as you go further into the series. I mean, and I don't expect it to be like, to have Silmarillion depth or anything like that.
For sure.
But as far as like young adult fantasy series or something like that, like maybe Aragon depth or something like that.
Aragon? You said Aragon?
Yeah, that's
Aragon.
not right.
Aragon, whatever it is, I don't know.
Aragon that's
Aragon.
That's like that's like
Manga.
Naruto. That's like Naruto level.
Yeah, that was rough. That was a.
I should have just said Brashenger, because I can say that correct.
I almost didn't know what you were talking about. That's how wrong it
Okay.
sounded in my head. Like, my goodness. Who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Who knows? We don't know. There's definitely not a movie about it or anything. Yeah, there we go.
I purged that from my memory, though. So, I think there is sort of room to. I don't necessarily think it's put at the wayside. I think it's put on the low burner, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think it's going to be skipped. I think it's going to be slow rolled out.
Yeah. I think it would be. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I want the Napoleonic Wars of fairies and people. I want that. That's like what I come to a show for. So like at the end of the day, like it makes sense that I don't like the show as much because of something like that.
Pat know that season 5 of Apple Sugar Fairy Tale is an entire Napoleonic War arc, and he's like, got to skip to that then.
I would if it's like a whole manga flashback to the war. Absolutely, I'm in. But Jay, go ahead. Sorry.
Whenever Slime Coon or whatever has boardroom meetings for wars, you guys are not for it, but you want that for Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. All right.
Yeah, because that lasted 7 episodes of people just talking in a boardroom, and that shit was boring as fuck.
I didn't get past episode 1 of that show, so I don't know.
Valid.
I didn't get past the cover art for it, so there we go. I'm sure it's enjoyable. Yeah, I do judge a lot of books by its cover. I wish I judged more.
That's how you're supposed to judge books. Yeah. There's a whole multiple paragraphs to give you an idea if you should.
It's like marketing is like what you're supposed to do, or is like the psychology.
We just talked about judging Apple Sugar Fairy Tale by its. I keep wanting to call this.
It's a hard name, honestly. It is a difficult name.
I call it Happy Sugar Life, which is it's not. And then
I always confuse these two. If I
also flip Apple, and I call it Apple Sugar Fairy Tale like a lot instead of Sugar Apple Fairy Tale.
Oh, dude, I've been saying Apple Sugar Fairy Tale like a lot. I think actually,
yeah, it's tough. So our apologies for that.
Yeah,
I don't know. In theory, it's 4 nouns in a row. That's not English. 4 nouns in a row.
Sugar. Fuck. I can't. Even thinking about it, I still do apple sugar.
I mean, the sugar is like it's an adjective.
Yes, it is.
No, sugary would be adjective.
Well, sugar apple. Well, yeah, but nouns can function as adjectives. And
This
That's
is
not
my
my word.
favorite English language podcast.
I'm just saying, technically, the word sugar is a noun. It can be other things. So is apple. So is fairy.
Yes.
That's why
tail.
Pat's giving this a 3.
Yeah. No. It's
Well,
not a 3. I didn't give it a 3, to be very clear, too.
I was going to talk about how there's this thing called no adjectives in Japanese, which are basically just nouns that act as adjectives. But then I just realized the Japanese name is just sugar apple fairy tale. So never mind. It's actually not applicable here. I want to circle back to Pete's point here.
Yeah,
and give,
like we went so off track from my question.
That's okay.
I was like, this is good. Just fucking run with it.
What are we talking about?
We were talking about, Pete had made a point, and then we talked about slavery for like 20 minutes. And I'm circling us back because I like it. It actually ties into Jay's latest point too, and I guess how I mildly disagree with it, because I'm someone who often doesn't really, and not that this isn't a romance, but like I like my shoujo to be like My Happy Marriage or this, right? Like I like these fantasy elements. I also like my shonen like this and my seinen and anything. I just like fantasy. I think that's what I know. But to me, this is like easier for me to connect with than something like A Sign of Affection or something like that. And part of that is because I just enjoyed like the fantasy world that they lived in and like the little lore drops we got. And I thought the politics were like a little middling, but they did try doing some, like political intrigue stuff with the Duke arc and all of that. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Like that's what kept me engaged. Like I even liked these beginning episodes just for the like, that you guys were saying you were like a little bored with at the intro. Like I think my least favorite arc was the Duke one, and I'd like to talk about that later. But I just sort of liked the whole like, I thought they did like travel well. They like got attacked like by bandits and stuff. The inn was pretty interesting, and like the communal meals and stuff they eat. I've also been watching a lot of YouTube videos on like medieval life where some guy like demonstrates how stuff would have happened. So maybe I'm just like really in this vibe currently, and so I just watched it at the right time or whatever. But it did like a pretty good job of like setting up that sort of world, and I liked that a lot. I do understand, like Pete's point, because a lot of it really is, we have Fairy Edward Cullen here for people to like.
Edward was more interesting to me, if anything. I don't know.
He's Kirito Sephiroth the Hedgehog. He literally has Shadow the Hedgehog's backstory. Like,
yeah, I guess like I wasn't expecting him to like. One, I don't think he's the least interesting character in the world. I don't think he's particularly interesting, but I guess I just sort of accepted he was there to be hot.
Yeah.
Like that's okay for me. Like that's fine. Like he's so hot. Everyone's and what? Okay, but I like that. Right?
Yeah, that's like you said hot already. My bad.
Yeah. It's like a whole little character thing was he was so hot everyone assumed he was a prostitute. Like that was a character trait of his.
It's that was the most relatable part of the show for me.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Everyone's like, oh, you must be banging this fairy because he's so hot. But like I thought Anne was pretty interesting. I thought like the Keith and Kat and like their interactions is like there's some backstory there.
They export each other's bodies.
I wouldn't doubt it. Was pretty interesting. I don't think Challe is like the most interesting character in it, but I think there are enough characters that are minorly interesting. You know who isn't interesting though? Jonas. Do we want to talk about Jonas?
Oh,
fuck Jonas.
Welcome to Fuck Jonas, the edition right here on the podcast.
Oh, do I get to have a hot take?
You like him?
What's the hot take? Were you like a big fan of Jonas? Were you like morally good?
Jonas did the right thing throwing that bag of rotted meat at her. Pat would have done the same thing.
All right, yeah, I guess my hot take then was Jonas did nothing wrong.
That's
insane.
That's that might be the worst take you've ever had on the pod. Actually.
He tried to kill her.
God actually froze Pat for saying
Crazy.
Yo, leave this in, Trent.
You know what's funny? You froze for me, so it's like
Oh,
you
okay,
guys
yeah.
are all the ones who were wrong. It's totally not me, and it's I
Okay.
see now. No, I was very much I was doing the Rachel did nothing wrong bit, except like that's not a bit for me, but like like this one is a bit.
Rachel did less wrong than Jonas did.
Oh, significantly less. She did nothing wrong versus Jonas. Yeah, no, Jonas is awful. I mean, I thought when I saw you guys saying stuff earlier in this week about Jonas, I was like, oh, he can't be that bad. And during that first episode too, before he got kind of all kissy when she didn't want it, I was kind of like, oh, he's just like a endearing childhood friend that is trying his best and isn't picking up the message. Like I was like, is this what we're freaking out about? And then of course, what I just said happened. What you said about the throwing the bag of meat, stealing her work, being a bad person throughout the show, that all kicked in, and it's like, okay, yeah, no, he did a lot wrong. So to be very clear, yeah, I was joking there.
Where does he rank on
hot.
your self-preservation scale? Like, obviously, Char did nothing wrong in your opinion when he blew up that guy.
He didn't just blow up the guy; he blew up a ship full of other innocent people too. Don't forget about that part.
Well, he didn't really blow it up. It was other people, but yeah,
that's also true. He saved himself, right?
Yeah, it was a self-preservation moment.
Yeah, and Jonas never had a Jonas could have just been a successful chef, not the best ever, but just fine.
or even better, he could have just been a rich prick's kid and lived like that in their medieval times for the rest of his life instead of attempting murder and. I mean, essay for sure in a way. I mean, again, that scene is messy but also not overdone, which I appreciated. Like not overdone in the sense of like over dramatized. It happens, and it's like, no, this is very clear, not what I want. And then whatever else he did, I guess like you said, he redeemed himself at the end a little bit. But he could have just not been him. It'd be really nice. You don't like it. We're a fuck Jonas podcast. That's right. Yeah, I said it. I said it first, actually.
So brave.
Ooh, I think I actually said it about 2 years ago.
I would love the Discord receipts. That'd be funny if we could find them.
We'll search it up.
No, I'd like put it in over my face right now as I lag anyways still too. Like that'd be really funny if you actually have receipts of you saying like F this guy from 2023, which wouldn't surprise me because our Discord goes way back.
All the way to 2023.
Okay, shout out to Sora. February 4th, 2023 at 4:49 was the first person to say fuck Jonas. I was the second. So,
okay.
So Sora gets credit for fuck Jonas.
I love it.
A good thing about the show, I would say, is that I like having had all of the fuck Jonas, like hearing this for 2 years, right? I think they did a good job of setting him up to be an absolute fucking scumbag.
Yeah.
Because I think if you have not watched this, the pat take of he's just sort of the obnoxious, never going to win childhood friend who can't beat Kirito, right? Like that feels possible, though he does, I will say, knowing that fuck Jonas season is upcoming, right? Puxatawny Phil has not seen his shadow, and we're getting an early fuck Jonas season. I know that
that was funny.
Thank you.
That was really good.
It took a second, but I got it. That was good.
That
like who the fuck is Phil?
His particular brand of childhood friend is like a little more sinister and obnoxious, and you can kind of get the sense that he's doing it for his own potential gain, really. Like
he's Ushi.
Yeah, Ushi. I always got the sense that he wanted Anne maybe potentially out of the picture, and that's why he like wanted to marry her, as to like get her to not compete with him in a cooking fashion.
Yeah.
And that's not like ever explicitly stated or anything, but like I did get that. Like I thought his shitty little motivations were relatively well brought out. The only issue that I had is Anne, frankly, was too nice to him down the road by not
killing him.
pushing him out a window.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I'm the psychopath. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's levels.
He
I agree.
keeps doing it. You know, if he had just gone the fuck away after the first incident, sure. But after, like, she keeps showing up places that he has shown up and he's lied about her for, like, weeks
He's
on
talking
end.
all that sweet shit. Like, legitimately, he just talks about it to fucking everybody. Everybody he encounters first is like, "You're the one who set Jonas up."
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
He, like, immediately goes on, like, damage control. He gets ahead of all of it. He's like a YouTuber that's, like, tricked everyone until, like, a twit longer comes out or something. Like, if we want to time it, he's the Carl Jobst of our show. That's
Pat, what would your recommendation for Jonas be for him to get ahead of this if you were his talent agent at the what would you tell him to do in this situation?
Delete all social media that isn't professional and
hit the gym.
Just come back with a six pack. Yeah, lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we would lawyer.
Actually, he should lawyer up.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, denounce publicly the with a lawyer's permission and legal writing, not Chat GPTs. I would recommend that he denounces any affiliation with anybody that was involved as well with him on this stuff, even though it's true. So
What about the notes? What about a Notes app apology?
Only if it's written by
Notes
ChatGPT.
app apology.
Okay. Do you think he knows how to play the ukulele?
That's a good one too.
Hit the toxic gossip train.
Yeah, that's
he would get Kathy to play the fucking ukulele.
Yeah, or like make an apology where he says, "I'm sorry what happened," but never says he's sorry for what he did.
Yeah,
he's just sorry that it happened. That's
he's sorry that he got caught.
Yeah, don't admit any blame.
I apologize if my actions made you feel a certain way.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is that I'm sorry you feel this way about what happened. Is like the classic. Yeah, I'm not apologizing. So I guess one note that I was going to make that kind of clicked in my head while we were sitting here talking about though is like I think Jonas sees his relationship with Anne very similarly to how Anne sees her, or there's parallels between Anne's and Jonas's relationship, and then Anne and Challe's relationship, just in the sense of like who's in power, who's I had a great way to explain it, and then we went 5 minutes talking about.
Yeah, because like based off what you said, I
things,
strongly disagree with that.
No. So it was more like
they contrast each other or something.
No, not contrast. No, I think they do parallel each other in the sense that, or he wants them to parallel each other. Maybe is the way better way to phrase it. Anne lived with Jonas for a while, right, and was like under his wings, so to speak. Right, in a way, like had nursed back to health, nursed back to whatever. Then, or shallow, I'm going to call him because he's shallow. And it kind of is on the same level with where she's nursing up to Shal a little bit, like learning from him. And they're symbiotic. They help each other out both a little bit at least, right? But then Jonas is envious of the fact that Anne isn't for him, like that I think that's where the relationship, I don't know, man. I had such a good
it was right there.
So it was right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, well, instead of you making a good point, I had to make the world's 733rd ukulele joke. So I think we got the better content.
You're right. I don't know. It's like, God damn it. It's like parallel, but it's not. No, I had a better word for it, and that's why this isn't making sense. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that like the basis of their relationships, or that's a better way to phrase it. The basis of Jonas and Anne's relationship is very similar to the basis of Anne and Chal's relationship at the start for both of them, right? Where Jonas didn't necessarily buy Anne, but he certainly she is indebted to him or tied to him because of that, right? Challe is literally owned by Anne at the start, and obviously she frees him, and their relationship changes from that point. Jonas is envious of that relationship because he foresaw his relationship evolving in the same way that their relationship is now. That make more sense.
Did it?
I think it does. I think we got there. That like even though there's like a similar basis, you can see the differences in like how it is like progressed from
Well, yeah.
the
Obviously, it changed completely. And they evolve into different things, and that's my point. Is that like I thought they did a good job setting up Jonas that way, where you can see where his brain is coming from. He's not just like maniacally evil, but then they're like you see why also their relationship doesn't go anywhere, and like why he is so envious, why he is so vindictive and evil and bad and wrong in the way that he treats her and interacts with her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hope I made sense there.
Yeah,
Either way, doesn't matter if I did. Who cares? You know?
I think I get it because I think in a sense, I think Jonas thinks he owns Anne, and like the fact that she like rebels against like his actions is why I think he kind of goes over the top. But then he sees Anne sort of, I'm gonna put this in quotation, owning Challe and being like, oh, she's doing the same thing that I did and it's okay. Why is it when I do it, I'm the bad guy, even though he is the bad guy? So I think I'm kind of getting like the comparisons between the two a little bit.
That is what I was trying. Yeah, good, well put, Pete. That is the example I was going to use too, actually. So thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's good character writing overall for their relationships. I wish we got more in depth about Challe. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we shall.
Nice.
In later arcs, but I don't know if there was enough for me to be interested, like just off the rip right now. You know, like, am I so interested in his backstory that I'm going to watch more on my own? Probably not.
Yep.
But I don't know if you. So Pete, it sounds like you agree.
I mean, that's almost like the. It's going to be like a minor spoiler for like the end, but like when I finished watching this the first time around, and it was announced that I was getting a second season, I thought that what I got from 12 episodes was enough. Like I didn't really like I didn't really care to find out more about Challe towards the end of it. Like I think what they set up was good and everything like that. It's just like I don't think that there was enough substance for me to want to continue.
That's interesting. I'm usually on the opposite end of that from you, Pete.
Me, I'm
like,
usually like I'm all for it.
Because like normally I'm just like I'm fine, and you're like I need 43 seasons.
Well, man, there's maybe we could talk about when we get. I don't know. I know you had another talking point, but
so what I wanted to talk about how you guys thought the pacing of the series was, because there were a few moments where I felt it felt kind of rushed. Oh, see, look at me and Pat are different, because I thought like especially between the end of the initial contest arc and then like the Duke arc, it felt like a lot of character development happened within that gap, with Anne being able to like let go of the fact that her mom had died, and maybe a bunch of stuff with Challe and her's relationship, but like they literally just say like a year happened and also they did these things. And like it sounds like I'm going to be a little bit alone on this, so take that for as you will, but I could have used some like sort of low down comfy adventures in that year where they go through this. Like I would have loved to see more about that festival where they like sent her mom's spirit away and everything, like with the candles and the boats or whatever. And just like stuff like that I found interesting and wish had been spent more time on. So I don't know what your thoughts on that were.
I think I would have liked that too. Like everything that you just said, I would have liked, and it would have made it not feel so sleeper for me. You know, I think certain arcs dragged on a long time that didn't really feel like they needed to, versus other things that got skipped over. Like you said, they don't skip like a full year, but like almost a full year gets skipped, right? What the hell happened during that year? You know, how did she get better at her craft? What did she and Challe like talk about and get closer to each other, or talking about and doing together? Like I don't know, like I think that certain arcs were complete, or aspects were completely skipped over and just, like you said, remedied off screen, which annoys me and makes me less interested in the arcs that are happening on screen, when it didn't really feel like things were changing internally for her. You know, like you said, like that moment with the mother, like again, the way that show is set up, you would think that that would be like the main arc, right? Like that would be the main talking point of this season, is her coming to terms with her mother's loss. and it really wasn't. So that's how I felt, at least. Pete, what have you got for it?
So with me, it's one of these things where if they didn't announce that we were getting another part or another core, I wouldn't have an issue with what they did in the season. But because that we had an additional season coming later, I think I would agree. I think they could have stretched it out and got a little bit more out of sort of the storytelling that they wanted to present, and we could have gotten that. And then I guess I would have to think about how it would end. Maybe this was it would be like a 13 episode core instead of a 12 episode core. Cause I do think like one episode could have done a lot, but I'm in the same boat with like Miles and you, Pat. Like I do think that it could have added a little bit more substance to maybe get a better feel of the world or the characters or the stories and the background of some of the mom, like you said. So yeah, I agree with you guys.
I also agree with you guys. I think that, like, I don't know, like, I hate to be like, guy who's only seen one shoujo getting a whole lot of the one shoujo I've seen vibes from this. But if I compare it to something like Fruits Basket, right? Where like Toru's backstory about her family and her mom is overarching with so many other characters, including her best friend,
Yep.
who is like her mom's protege. Like you get so much just from the characters being interconnected like that I think it would have been interesting to be able to expand upon that more, maybe have it reach other characters, sort of how like we sort of had that with the one guy who saw her mom at the fair. Was that Jonas or Kat? I don't remember. One of the two. Or was it Hugh? It was some pretty boy who saw her mom and was like, I want to be a sugar artisan now. Like I think more stuff like that with different characters would have been interesting.
That was
Especially
huge.
Okay, thank you. Especially because like
So I thought they were related at first.
yeah, I actually did. Simone, when we were watching it, was like, "This is going to be her secret brother or some
I
shit."
thought I
wasn't
did,
it?
and you know what? Maybe because Hugh has to have secrets, whatever
Yeah.
they are.
But I just think with Xiao being like 100 years old or whatever, you really could have. You had interesting opportunities to have him, like, be involved with other things in the world building or have like different perspectives on things other than just like his general distaste for humanity and being a rude pretty boy. So yeah, I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. I think about, some anime, we call them a roller coaster where they move too fast and you can barely see what's going on. I think that this was kind of like a bullet train where it is moving incredibly fast, but you barely notice it and it skips over so much that you fall asleep.
That's a good way to look at it, because that's how I felt. Like again, I couldn't really dive into any specific thing because we were just moving along, and there was no brakes on the train at all. So I guess that covers the talking points. Or do you want to respond?
Yeah, I wanted to. So you guys had mentioned, I think, that you became more interested like at the start of the Duke arc and like going forward. I had some issues with the Duke arc, specifically. No one ever, not a single person, is dumb enough to not figure out that he was in love with that fairy from 27
Right.
minutes in. And we spent like 3 episodes of fucking Anne and everyone else Scooby-Dooing that fact. I'm sorry. No fucking duh, Anne. And everyone else.
It was Dora the Explorer type shit, honestly.
Like, and then like, maybe I should ask him about but that's why this was weaker to me, where like the other mysteries I felt like were things where like there were different potential solutions, right? So like when her sugar gets stolen the second time, it could have been Bridget, it could have been, the guys who are working on this, it could have been maybe someone who she thought was an ally that's happened to her before. For this one was, I don't know. There were strong parts of this with like the setup and like her learning to hone her craft more, and I liked that, and I liked the political stuff that was happening there. But like the final realization being like, wait a minute, this guy was in love with this person that he's obsessed with, who is now dead, who he has a fucking portrait of in his house. Come on. I did really
one episode. Should have been one episode.
Yes, and
Yes.
I did like him revealing that he was trying to bring her back to life. I thought that was an interesting aspect and tie-in of like how fairies are made in the world. But overall, that's why that was my least favorite little mini arc here, I guess, was because just like Christ.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
It was just a bad version of the one episode of Heavenly Delusion. That's all there was. Like, all I got to say about
Oh
it.
yeah.
Even down to having a mean, blonde, gaunt guy. Like, just a worse version of that shit. But
it's a bad version of Pet Cemetery.
I think that,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Pet Cemetery.
I think that if this was done well, like you could have had this be like a season arc or something. If it was done well, if the Duke was like there's a lot of ifs and buts about it. Like it could have been done well, I think, and it just didn't hit the mark, and it makes it feel more drawn out. But I think that like if it was done well, you could have easily had this been like most of the season just exploring like that sort of thing. Like it reminds me of like something like this world reminds me a lot of like The Witcher or something like that. And the Duke feels like a character from like that sort of world, a very believable sort of grieving man. And I think that just because of the fact that they try to present it as a mystery, like Miles said, when it's very obvious, that takes away from it for me. But obviously it's children's media, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just like
no,
too
children's
old for
media
it.
can do like genuinely like you can do children's media better than they do it. They do
deserve
children's
better. I
media
do agree. I do agree.
in like various different arcs of this. There is better versions of this sort of thing. I think if you had the Duke be married, but maybe it was like an arranged marriage and they figure that out and they figure out that they're not super in love with each other, like give reasons for her to not immediately think they were in love. And for whatever reason, like it would still be kind of obvious, but like if you put some sort of like he's already married to like a human woman and they slowly figure out that like he was forced to because of this political pressure that's been being put on him or whatever, and he wasn't really into, you can make this have the same conclusion and an interesting mystery, I think, and they just didn't, which is unfortunate.
I guess, but at the same time, like I can't believe I'm defending again, but like to help to give the show the benefit of the doubt here, like it's said multiple times in the show that it's taboo or weird for them for an elf and God, what am I saying? A fairy and a human to be romantically involved, not like in a the companionship, but in like a romantic, actual loving way.
Yeah.
And it also parallels what Anne and Challe are kind of going through too, where she's also questioning, does she love him? I guess he is too, apparently, because he takes the fall for her, whatever, like even though she doesn't have to, like, it's implied. We don't really hear Challe's thoughts very often, but like we see his actions. And obviously, again, from an omnipotent perspective of our own, where we know like no shit, they're gonna end up together, like it's a romance. But like in the world, I can see it not necessarily being something that like immediately comes to mind, all while agreeing with you. 3 episodes of it was like crazy,
I'm
like,
gonna agree with you. Good point. I do think that that's true. That's not a normal romance in this world. However, our main character is someone who definitely wants to fuck a fairy. So she should figure it out.
We also have the lore that
Kathy wants to bang Jonas.
And we also have the lore from the church that the reason why like people hate women is because of like the fairy relationship of Adam and Eve in their world.
Okay, this was a minor problem that I had. The original creation myth, which also unfairly blames women in like Christianity, has apples baked into it. You didn't need to change it. You should have just used the apples.
It was right there.
I was really excited when they did Adam and Eve because I was like, oh, like they're going to use like the biblical Garden of Eden apple, and then they changed the story, and I was like, God fucking damn it! This is
literally
I was like, what a minor upset in my mind that ruined the show. I didn't really, but I think that was interesting. Like that is a good point too, right? There's stuff there about like, the woman falling in love with the fairy, like at the beginning of time or whatever.
Well, I think it made her, again, it just gave them a moment for Anne to develop as a character and be like, oh, it is love that I'm feeling for him. If another human is also feeling it, I'm not the only one that feels this way or whatever. Like, I believe that it's real. So that's where I guess that would answer why I enjoyed this arc or this
Yeah.
part of the show more than the beginning, where it kind of just I don't know. I guess it was slightly changing the topic or continuing the conversation here just before we get to closing thoughts. But like, we kind of touched on it with the other stuff, but I was just so bored, so bored of the dialogue between a lot of the characters. I felt like the relationships were cool and like how they along throughout the arcs was interesting, I guess, if that makes any sense. But the dialogue themselves, when they were just talking to each other, like it felt like the cringy, like how you doing, how you been, Loca, or where you been, Loca, like that kind of dialogue, where I was just sitting there like, oh my god, here we go again. They're gonna, will they, won't they? What are they talking about? Are they aware? Like that kind of stupid stuff that I guess my boy brain doesn't process well, apparently.
So the most how are you doing, Loca moment for me was when she was running with Keith, and Keith was like running is like a good way to like leave the, and I actually kind of liked that. It's a little cheesy when they're just like sprinting and having like shoujo eyes at each other, but I kind of liked the idea of like leaving. And I also, and we have to talk about it a little bit because I typed it multiple times in the chat. NTR's art, I really dug the whole Bridget.
Oh, I need to talk about this.
What is wrong with you?
Like, no, like I liked the drama in it. Bridget is obviously a fucking psychopath, but I liked that they like double, because I thought it was going to be like they double tricked me. One, I thought it was going to be an instance of one miscommunication, right, where she gets upset seeing Challe and Bridget hug. But Challe was going to talk to her about it, and then saw her and Keith having a moment, and I was like, this makes more sense for the lack of communication if there's a double one. And then they just sort of talked it out anyway. And I was like, oh, okay. They got me twice.
All right.
I was also surprised they talked it out.
We ready for a hot take edition?
Yes.
Bridget is the best character in the show.
I'll take it.
I loved Bridget. She is the definition of shooting your shot and taking it any way possible. She knows that she has money and power, and she's like, I hate my husband or my fiance. I don't want to be with this doofus. Holy shit, look at this hot ass fairy. I'm a manipulate. I'm gonna force him to love me. I'm just like, you go, girl. That's girl power right there.
Can I counterpoint here?
You cannot.
Damn it. All right, if I were allowed to counterpoint, then what I would say is that not literally what Jonas tries to do at the beginning of the show that we all loathe him for?
There is a big difference between the two. Bridget, I like Bridget, and I don't like Jonas.
There we go. Okay. Yeah,
that's it.
One is as like sexual assault. The other is slavery. So like, you know, damn. Like,
I just gotta say, when it comes, okay, when I say I like the second half better, it's this arc. I think what Bridget added to the drama was so much fun. Like, this is what, like, it was starting to get a little spicy. This is why I like it. And it also had, like, I did like the message with Anne, with her being in this workforce filled with dudes and they all fucking hate her. And she's just like, I'm gonna do my own shit. Like, I hate y'all. And like, like, all these standards that you had for women, I'm gonna do it. And like, I like that message as well that they included with it. But Bridget just added that level of spice that I was looking for the entire time for this show. I love her.
I liked the spice that she added. I don't like her. She's just hot now for me.
I can't rebuttal this. I got nothing. You're right, but like something about her, like she's like, it's like a level of like desperation where she wants to get out so bad, like any means necessary. Like she must fucking hate her fiance.
Ichika is my second favorite Quinn.
Yeah.
So I don't have room to throw stones.
You like snakes.
I like it with shoot or shoot. Now, is trying to trick someone to go on a date with you way less evil than literally buying an object
Depends
so you can
cause
them pain unless they sleep with you?
Let's not bring in ethics and morals into this conversation.
Sorry, that's my apologies. That's a fair point. I guess #Team Bridget then.
Yes, you heard it. Clip it.
boy.
But
Don't
this
clip
is
it.
part of the reason I'm excited to watch season 2, because I think we should talk about where this show ends. And this was like, this is the type of show where if it didn't have a season 2, I feel like Pat would be mad, like viscerally angry. Where it just ends with Anne desperately trying to get Challe back after Bridget takes them away and failing. It ends on a downer note, and I was not expecting that. I thought all of this would be tied away. I don't know what anyone else thought.
I literally said out loud, that was a psychotic way to end a season.
I said that. I typed that. I typed like the exact same thing.
I thought it was weird too. I didn't expect it. Like I thought like, oh, she got her badge. And then, okay, well, now let's see what adventure they start to go embark on next. Like, how are they going to like get close and then go next? But you know, it reminded me, now here we go on my memberberry train here. Like, it reminded me a lot of the end of the first like major arc of Kenshin, where essentially the same thing, well, not the same thing happens. Kenshin essentially embarks on a mission because he feels he has to and leaves behind everybody, like all the people that he had just started to get close to. It feels very similar in the sense that Char does the same thing. Not really a mission, more of a, Char, Jesus Christ.
This show would be so much better if Char was the fairy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, you're right. But you know what I mean?
He would have just killed Bridget's ass on his.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. He would just show the fucking. She'd be like, okay, like I'm in the carriage waiting for you. And he would be like walking up to it and it would just explode.
Char's got his sunglasses on. He's walking slow.
Yeah. So Challe, I should say, yeah, like it's very similar in that sense where, and that's how the first arc ends. So it's like you're like, and a certain manga volume ends as well. So you're like, whoa, Cliff, that's a weird downer thing to end on. Like it's weird. It doesn't feel right. But again, that's knowing that, oh, that's essentially the prologue of the story done. So I don't know, I guess that's how I looked at this, as more of like a prologue or build up to the next part versus, and at least there's like, it was foreshadowed or shown to be possible versus like, it's just like, oh, cut off in the middle of the episode, cliffhanger for the sake of a cliffhanger, you know, like it felt like it was there to build that tension and make it make sense for the next season too. Like it was a coming down point of the story. So I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of examples people are thinking of right now where I've said the opposite about like endings being like left open-ended, and I would probably agree with you still on all of those too. This one just didn't feel as offensive or and maybe it's just like the content of it or the type of show it was, but it didn't nag at me the same way that others have.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. I also think knowing that there's more, right? Like know that if you want to figure out what will happen, you can. You don't have to. And so maybe it's closed for you, but if you want to, you can. And like the option matters, right?
I was about to say maybe it's also the fact that I don't really care what happens next. That I think
that's the winner, right? That
probably helps a lot too. Almost certainly has a huge impact on the fact that I'm not like salivating over here. Yeah. Like, I don't know, if someone wants to watch it for me and tell me what happens next, I'll listen to them talk about it for 17 minutes max. That'll be my number.
Damn.
Okay.
Very specific.
You know, I didn't want to be like mean and say 5 minutes because you know what? There could be some good stuff that happens, but I also not sitting for a half an hour listening to more about Sugar Apple Fairy Tale.
What if it's 30 minutes, but you would listen to it on 2x?
Then that would be 15 minutes. So that would work out. I'd like
that. That's the I'll record that, and then you can listen to it how you like to consume media to
so bad. That's so mean. I have watched almost 3 whole seasons of Yellow Jackets in the last week on my own at 1x speed on Paramount. Not on my own with Ashley, but I have watched an entire, and those are hour-long episodes. That's like 30 hours of media that I've watched. And wow.
You are better than my friend Nick, who doesn't watch at 2x speed, but will skip dialogue he finds boring.
At least I watch everything. Yeah, no, like I do. And I will rewind if I miss something too when I'm watching things at a faster rate. Like, I don't know. It does. It is a fatal flaw of mine. And I understand that. But also try watching Happy Sugar Life at 1x speed, and you will.
Look, I watched Bakuan at 1x. Okay?
I watched Rokubo at 1x speed.
Honestly, Pete, you should have cheated. You should have cheated.
Yeah,
That one you should have cheated. We're all going to say you should have cheated. We're all going to agree.
I am nothing but a man of my word. I watch that shit on 1x all episodes.
Sometimes the man needs to break his word, and specifically watching Rokubo.
Don't get me wrong. I lie all the time, but not to my boys.
Yeah, I never said I'd watch Happy Sugar Life at 1 speed or 1x, or whatever it is. God, that show is awful. Thank God we're not talking about that show on an episode.
And I'm nominating
Happy Sugar Life. Good thing you didn't lose the basketball bet.
I know. Thank goodness I didn't flip a coin for every first round matchup.
Shout out to Tyler for that. That was bold.
Shout out to Tyler for making it so that I felt confident to pick UConn to win it all on the men's side of things. Because on the women's side of things, that would have been a good bet, by the way, if we really want to get down into it. You know,
we do not. We actually want to get the
final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Do we want to move on to final thoughts?
We do,
we do. Really? Okay,
yeah,
then let's move on to final
wink.
thoughts. Wow, wink, wink. Okay, yeah, no, obviously, yeah, I'm done talking too. Jay, what have you got for final thoughts and a final score?
So my final thoughts on this are that it was pretty good. I thought that the voice acting and like sound design were pretty solid. I had a good time with that. The character designs, I really enjoyed them. I thought that like the use of like CGI for the sugar stuff was actually like pretty interesting and a good way of capturing the sort of depth that they were trying to give it. I just wish that like I think this show is pretty broad but shallow, and I would have preferred it to just be a little deeper in exploring like both the characters and the world building and that sort of thing. I think that, like I said in my opening thoughts, I think that they had a really good premise and a really good foundation for world building and like how that could affect the characters, especially with like the sort of like prejudice and slavery angle of it. And I just don't think it was really explored to its fullest potential. So for me, this is like a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10 sounds good. Yeah, and I agree that it's the broad but shallow is a very good description for this show. I like the vibes, at least on my end. I'm in a very similar boat, which would be a shitty boat to be in if something is broad but shallow, because you wouldn't go very far. Spitting bars over here now. Miles, what have you got?
Yeah, I had a good time with this. I can't really argue with any of the complaints that have been made. But for me, I felt mostly just interested by it. Like the shallow parts of the world I thought were interesting, and I would like to see them expanded. And I feel like they set it up as to be. You know, I didn't necessarily feel like it wasn't ever going to get addressed, but just that they were sort of giving us like an overview of the world before going deeper anywhere specifically. I liked the characters. I liked their interactions. I think that the last arc was particularly good and drama filled. We got good sorts of melodrama, and it sets up an interesting enough hook for season 2. So for me, this was a very enjoyable 8 out of 10, a lower one, but one nonetheless.
Alrighty, Pete, what about you?
First I want to give a shout out to the OP. I love OPs that just like set the mood for the show, and I felt like the OP was just like very sparkly and pretty and kind of like gallopy. I feel like I was riding a horse sometimes. Like I really like how it set the tone for the show. I'm purely basing this off of like what I watched and versus like my personal enjoyment, because I don't think like structurally the show was bad. I think the visuals are great. Like the color palettes that they used on people were fantastic. I think it definitely set the aesthetic of what it was going for, this very magical world. I love the world idea of like this sugar conventions and like how they create it sort of like in so many different ways. Like it's a life source, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like a trophy, and Miles thinks it's hilarious or something, but like, and he's
sorry, I'll explain. I'll explain why in a second.
Okay, sounds
in our
good.
next segment.
But just not for me. But I think this is just like a 7 out of 10 show. Like I think it was fine. I really don't think it was bad. I just don't think it's for me.
Fair enough. All right, and yeah, I think if I were like, just to go back to my opening thoughts, like I would recommend this to someone who likes shoujo. I think structurally the show is good, like Pete said, almost word for word. But I also think that it fits what it wants to be, which is a show targeted towards, generally speaking, like young adult women. And I am not a young adult woman.
What?
So yeah, I know, breaking news. I'm sorry. So it did not hit for me. So I have it at a 6 out of 10, but I do think some caveats there. For one, it's probably one of my higher sixes in the sense that like it's not bad. It really isn't bad. It's just not for me. So I think for my score, that's why it's lower. And two, I think if we get more depth on the things that like what we talked, a couple guys have already said, like where it is shallow, if there's more depth added in the second season, and if I'm force fed that or given my 17 minutes by Miles of heaven, knowing what I know, I'd be very lucky about this show, then maybe that could go up to like a 7 for me. Like sure. I feel mean giving it a 6 in like the thinking about it sense, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I could have been a lot meaner in my head too. Like I worked really hard to find stuff I enjoyed, and I did. So I appreciate that, but I had to work very hard to find it.
It's just like, what if like Love Live had the production budget of Attack on Titan? It's like, you could like, it probably looks great, but I don't like Love Live. And so it's like,
yeah, that's a great analogy, especially matter. For me.
Yeah.
Especially for me. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I don't care about basketball that much, and like, I can enjoy it sometimes, but not for me.
Yep.
Put me on the ice, man. Or on the pitch. All right. That adds up our total scores across the four of us to 28, which means some quick maths over here. Our average score is a 7.0 on the board. That is 0.47 below the Mal average of 7.47. And yeah, I guess that wraps up our discussion of Sugar Apple Fairy Tale Part 1 or Season 1. Miles, what are we watching 2 weeks from now?
Really cool voting this week, since we had so many nominations, right? So we had 8 of them, and we had a tie for first place. So in 3rd/4th place, I guess, was Interspecies Reviewers. So shout out to the community who didn't vote for that. Big fan. It earns its first legacy point. In 2nd place was the Saga of Tanya the Evil, earning its 2nd legacy point. Now, we had a tie between Rose and Maiden and High School of the Dead for first place. Now, High School of the Dead has an absolute fuck ton of legacy points, so that is what we will be watching next time.
Let's go! It finally happened!
Where I was laughing, I need to tell this, when Pete was saying his thing, I knew this was coming, so I go to the High School of the Dead page, and I go, oh, it has an OVA, and it's like a little older. Sometimes those OVAs are like wrapping up things.
It's a hentai.
I was wondering if it was. I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, is this important? So I click on it, and it's just the most horny picture of all time.
It's softcore hentai.
Yeah, it is.
It's Konosuba OVAs. It's very similar.
Yeah, it is.
It's worse than that. It's so much worse.
I think there's one scene that's worse than that, but
bro,
like in general,
they finger each other. The OVA.
I haven't watched it in a while. I guess I need to again.
I guess you'll have to audio
watch
rewatch.
it with Ashley. It's fine.
Don't watch the OVA. Never in my head was going to be. I mean, if we want to watch it, we can.
Hard pass.
Yeah, I'm good too. That's why I think it's more important that we just watch High School of the Dead itself. I can't believe that one.
This will be
feels
a fun
good.
rewatch.
Finally got a win. It's going to be such a fun rewatch. I cannot wait to make Ashley watch this.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. So
remember how earlier in the episode you mentioned how you were in like a great and committed relationship. Not in 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah. Well, we'll see. This will really test our resolve.
Yeah.
You know.
Personally,
that's what you're supposed to do.
I mean, I don't know. Kayla ended up liking fucking Rosario Vampire more than me.
And
Who
I think
knows?
this show is so much better than Rosario Vampire. So
I've watched 3 episodes of the show, and I would so far describe it as Rosario Vampire without the charm. But there's 9 more to go.
Ooh.
So,
wow, that's rude. Okay.
well, hey, it's not that rude. I gave Rosario Vampire an 8. That was
Yeah, season
room
1
there.
was fine. Season 2 was.
yes. And I only meant that as far as they both try to shoehorn in as many panty shots as humanly possible.
Oh yeah, it's awful. It's like
Yes, it is.
Tarantino with feet. It's awful. But it's also there are parts though where that is done on purpose. I think narratively or from a
Sure,
mindset perspective.
I'm just gonna.
I am not shitposting here. I'm not.
I'm gonna post the Pro CD video about the cleavage.
No, okay. Yeah.
From her outer
Hold
self
on,
to
Pat,
her inner self.
Save it for 2 weeks from now.
I
We'll
agree.
dive
Save it
all
for 2
into
weeks.
this.
I swear to God, I'm not shit posting though. I swear to God.
Actually,
at
I
least
just like titties.
well, who doesn't, right?
Right.
All right. But yeah, High
I'm
School of
stalling
the Dead.
so we can think of something else to nominate.
No, yes and no. I knew beforehand, but I did before the episode started. I did stall a little bit because of that. Yes, shocker. It's not going to be something very new. Jay, what are you nominating for 2 weeks
Fuck,
from
Jay's
now?
going first. Fuck.
What is the fuck about?
Well, you have a potential of stealing my nomination now.
Oh,
You
I
never
don't know
ready
what you're-
anyways. It's
I don't
just
even
by
know
the
what
order
you're
of the screen.
nominating. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know what I need and what I want to nominate yet. That kind of threw me a little bit. I'm not going.
I could go.
Sorry. All right, Pete.
I can-
since you're the
okay.
only other one ready, apparently
I'm
Miles
ready.
clearly isn't ready.
Miles
He's
just
clearly
like
not ready.
He didn't bring meeting notes. He didn't bring a show to nominate. This dude is slacking.
I had a
Disgusting,
show.
honestly.
Okay.
He didn't even remember to do the legacy points.
Okay, so real quick, I asked a bunch of people what the most underrated or underwatched shows of 2020 were. I got a bunch of results, and so I put them into the wheel, and I spun the wheel, and I got a show, and it did not come out in the 2020s at all, but I was very intrigued by it because it's done by Madhouse, and the aesthetic looks sick. I'm going to nominate Aka 13.
Aka 13. Is it like Red
Really?
13?
They
No,
look
ACCA. It's
Yeah.
completely different.
Yep. Drama, mystery, detective.
Yeah,
adult
okay. This
cast.
came out in 2017.
Yeah. I think the
Cool.
person missed that one. Shout out to Beyond the Gate. They're a blog. They're great. That show did not come out in the 2020s, but I'm gonna nominate it anyway because it looks fun.
They do if you round.
What? Oh, I see. Sure.
Yeah.
To the runs around to the nearest decade. Sure. Fuck it.
Alrighty, Miles, what have you got?
Yeah, so I just wanted to renominate the show that I had voted for first last time that didn't end up winning because legacy points. Rosen Maiden. I thought that looked really
that
cool.
actually was probably what I was going to nominate. But hey, if you win, can we give the point to Simone though on the wheel? Because I think that'd be fun.
Sure. There's. Oh, like if it does win.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I have enough points.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
about to say you're good.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Jay, what about you? What are you nominating?
Let's see. Should I nominate interspecies reviewers again, guys? What do you
Nope.
think?
No.
I think no. I think there's too many. I think that there's a good chance of it winning currently.
You know what? Actually, there is only 4 of us, which means you guys do each have to vote for it at least once. So I'm going to nominate interspecies reviewers.
Yeah, honestly, can't say I didn't walk right into that one.
Yeah.
Fair point.
You should have let him nominated Rosen Maiden. You fool.
Jay, do you want to nominate Rosen?
No, bro, I'm good.
Okay.
Are you sure you don't want to nominate Rosen Maiden?
No, I think this will bring us closer together. guys.
I'm going to shit on the show the entire time. So
That's fine. I don't have a personal
I don't think
attachment
Jay
to it.
is nominating it expecting us to do anything but that. I think he's
I
doing
mean,
it.
I'll probably say it was fun.
I mean, there will probably be some amount of fun to be. Oh my god! Holy fuck!
yeah.
This is the first time I'm looking at the PV art.
Yeah, it's a lot.
These
This is literally
cowgirls.
deja vu. Are you looking
And
at
okay.
This is live Ashley reaction again. This
I'm
is
gonna-
literally the same exact thing that just happened.
I'm gonna
2 weeks
die
ago.
on this hill. If you have a cowgirl, she should have 4. She should have 4 tits. Okay.
Let's
And
break it up.
honestly-
Save it for the pod. Save
Okay,
it
What
for
if
the
she just had a
pod.
bunch of? What if she just had a bunch of nipples on one?
Sure.
All right.
We'll see how it goes. As long as there's 4 places for the milk to come out.
Bet.
Yo, if you guys want to hear us talk about that, make sure you vote.
Well, Jesus, what are we doing here, boys?
Yeah, I didn't mean to give such a good push for it.
Yeah,
but,
what the fuck, Miles?
Thank you for doing my job for me, Miles.
I'm starting.
You know what?
I'm putting
If you guys want to vote for this, I will look up the anatomy of all of the animals these things are based off of.
Stop. I'm creating a new rule or a new role in the Discord, and it's a Gooner role. And Miles, you're gonna lead it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if this is gooning. This is me wanting to roast the show because it's bad at biology.
Fine, dude, you're diving into the biology of cow tits. I think you're a Gooner.
Okay, sure. It's not to get off.
Anime cows. Oh, we don't know that yet.
Well, no,
Miles
I'm
went to
in actual
Gonzaga
cows, and then
University.
I'm assuming that the show will explain to me the anime part.
God damn it.
Yes.
I do not want to find out.
Oh,
Okay.
All right, Pat.
Pete, not Pete. Pat, what's up, Pat? What are we nominating?
good Lord, I don't know what I want to nominate.
Pat, find like a Ghibli movie or something people will vote for.
That's really what I was thinking about. I was
Really,
like,
just find something that'll fucking win.
You
I
Pondo.
deadass was like, I was going to just nominate Princess Principal, and then I'm like, no one's gonna
can't do
vote
it
for
here.
that.
Yeah,
I
no, you
can't
can't
do
do
it
it. You
here.
can't do it here.
You should vote for the princess and the pilot or whatever.
I loved that. That was really a fun. That was really fun, but it never got.
Just do like Suzume or something. Just
I was also thinking,
We
do I do a
already done an
Shinkai?
episode.
We already did an episode on Suzume specifically, but we never did an episode on Your Name. So I thought about nominating that because it's a really great movie. Love
I'll
that
vote for
movie.
it.
Fantastic.
I would vote for it. Well, I can't vote for it. I would want to vote for it, but no, but I'll do a Ghibli because that does seem like to win every time, right? Except for Ponyo.
Ponyo.
apparently. But that wasn't fair. It was matched up against my show, and my show wins every week, as we know. So
Yeah. Congrats to Pat for his first win in like a calendar year.
over a calendar year, if we're not
Take
including 2 core.
those.
Well,
The
yeah,
one
you did.
win, Steins Gate, the number 3 anime all time. Yeah,
Hey, it won.
it did win. Yeah, no. So I'm gonna nominate a movie I have never seen before, and that I think will win.
The
Please, God.
interspecies reviewer compilation film.
Yeah. No, it is a Studio Ghibli favorite. Spirited Away.
Let's go. My favorite
You've
one.
never seen Spirited Away? Damn.
No, I didn't. The only thing from Japan that ever entered my body before like 14 was Pokemon, and
My
that's
favorite
all.
Ghibli. You got my
I
vote.
mean, me too. I watched it like a couple months ago.
Fucking love Spirited Away.
Oh, you haven't seen Spirited Away? I'm not even as old as you, Miles. So technically, I could still see it before you did. Like, if we really want to go there,
Ooh,
like, you know,
checkmate.
Oh, you know what? I'm voting for Interspecies Reviewer first.
You
This is fine.
motherfucker.
This is great.
We're done. All right. If you have made it this far and you want to support us, the best way to do so is to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you are watching or listening to us on. Next week is our first impressions of the currently airing spring season. So we'll be talking first couple episodes of whatever shows came out. Otherwise, if you're here for Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for High School of the Dead. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.